Welcome, Dr. Rob. We're so glad you're here tonight to
Me
share the
too.
group. And he wasn't feeling as well last week, so he's feeling much better this week, which is awesome too. So, yeah. So let's get started. We have a question. I'm a 48-year-old male who will be joining your male partners drop-in group. Yay! I told them about that. That's starting February 21st.
Good.
Initially, discovery for me was June of last year. Wife had long history of anonymous sex affairs. When I tell her how her cheating made me feel, she becomes shame-loaded, according to our therapist, and emotionally dysregulated. She also says she's becomes triggered by reminders of her acting out. How is this possible? I know I get triggered by things like locations where I know she acted out, but she's the one that acted out. So how does that become triggered for those things?
Well, that's a really good question because to me, it sort of speaks to the issue of how do I, as a partner, hold on to my anger and my unhappiness and my hurt in the face of someone who's been identified as being troubled or having a problem. You see, if your spouse had just cheated on you and didn't have a problem, but not that it's a just, but had just gone off and had an affair, you could just be really, really pissed. But if she is and I think this is an issue for many of the spouses, if we say, wow, your husband or wife, boyfriend or girlfriend, they're struggling with an addiction, then you're stuck in the middle because it's kind of like, well, I want to express my anger, but they're struggling and they're hurting and I don't want to make them hurt more. I don't want to make them feel worse, but I still need to voice what I feel. So I think that's kind of what you're up against. And it doesn't matter whether your partner's a male or a female. It may, however, matter in terms of how emotionally strong your wife is and able to tolerate what you have to say. So here's the deal. You have every right to be angry, hurt, disappointed, rageful, fearful, everything all over the map. You've been betrayed, violated, your world's been turned upside down, and the person you thought would always have your back was out there hurting you at the same time. And so, of course, it's going to be a lot of feelings for you, and you have every right to want to express that to your partner. Here's the thing. If she's just coming to terms for herself with what she's been doing and what it means, and if she is already, as you say, somewhat emotionally vulnerable, then it is also true that while what you have to say is meaningful and important and absolutely right, she just may not be able to hear it right now. What you say may send her into some kind of pit of self-hatred because she hasn't kind of found her way out of that enough to function in the world without her addiction. This is new. So this is one of the reasons why it's so important that everyone here, like you're going to go to that drop-in group, fabulous, because that's where you need to say, I hate my freaking wife. She ruined my life. I can't believe I'm looking at her over the dinner table. I just hate her so much, but I still love her, and all that crazy stuff that happens, so that when you have other people like us to talk to about it, you can go to her and either have really clear times when you have agreed that you're going to talk about this stuff, or you just only talk about it in therapy. So let me just say that quickly for some couples. So you guys all, if you're couples and you're dealing with this, there's so much anger and upset and disappointment, and it's like, and you still have to get through the day and cook and eat and have kids and whatever you do in your lives. It is often useful to say, look, from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Tuesday and Thursday evenings when we have an hour and the kids are in bed and it's just us, we will talk about these issues. But don't throw them at me while I'm cooking dinner. Don't call me up at work and tell me you hate me. Because that stuff we may be feeling as partners, and we need to take it to someone, but not the person who did it to us, the person who hurt us, because they're trying to get better. They're trying to figure this out. And there is a place and a time for us to fully express everything we need to, but not nearly as often as we would like to. And, we want them to hurt. We want them to know how much we hurt. We want them to feel our pain, And unfortunately, in your situation, your wife may simply be too emotionally vulnerable to depression, to anxiety, to whatever's going on with her. It doesn't mean you can't come to us. And it doesn't mean that she isn't worthy of your anger. It just means that you're going to have to work with her therapist and with her to set aside some times when you can do this mutual expression of what's going on and then put it down and go back into life. And I think if you put it in a box, rather than she never knows when you're going to jump out at her angry and you never know when she's going to, disappear and not tell you, if you put that into a box, it'll be easier for both of you to manage. And I feel for you. I'm so sorry. It would be much easier if she just robbed a bank and then you could be really, really angry. But it isn't that simple.
And though there is a separate meeting for partners, and that's not starting until February 21st, the one on Wednesday is for any partners, and you're welcome to attend that. You know, men are welcome at that one too. So that's just another opportunity. But the male one on February 21st will be great. Okay, so here's a situation where there's someone who's at a university, and a former graduate student comes to a meeting, a 12-step meeting, and it's really awkward. This person has done independent studies with this person, and there was an uncomfortable conversation afterwards, and this person decided that they should disconnect from the university connection. There's no reason at the university for them to be connected. Like, they don't have to be. So then they can be in a 12-step meeting together, but not have the other connection.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a therapist, and I live in a city where many people that I have worked with go to 12-step meetings. And I was not comfortable going to meetings where I saw my clients. And so, you know, I found a professionals meeting to go to here in town that was strictly, you know, lawyers, doctors, people who didn't want to see their clients. I found some online meetings to go to. I don't, it sounds like there's a lot of heaviness in this relationship, and I don't know what that's about. But if it's simply about, I saw you there and I'm embarrassed that you saw me and I saw you, and now what does this mean? All it means is we need to find some different places to heal. There's nothing wrong with you being in the same room and sharing, as long as you both know, hey, I got a problem, we're working on it, who cares? But if one of you feels like, oh my God, I don't want to be embarrassed by this, is uncomfortable to have this other person in the room, find another place to heal. I mean, that's what we're setting them up for. But I don't think, and I don't know if this is your question, but I don't think you can fault anyone for not feeling comfortable around you simply because of they're afraid of their privacy, or they'll be exposed in some way, or, you know, people. It's amazing to me how many sex addicts will walk, you know, into a strip club and leave their car out front and walk out and use their credit card, but they won't go to a church basement to go to a 12-step meeting, you know, because they're afraid of who will see them. But they had no problem going to the strip club. So, you know, you have to respect where this person is in their process and trust the process. If this person's important to you and they want them to have that space, tell them that and go find another one. But the most important thing is that you and this person both in recovery. Like, they shouldn't give up on the work they're doing on themselves, nor should you. You just need to find other places to do it.
And I'm with you. It's like, you know, I was falling in and out of the bars and didn't care what I was doing. And then, so I was like, I think it's healthy for me to be seen doing healthier things. And I get that this is a little different, but you know, like, this is real life and it affects everybody. And so my understanding is that you, the person that asked, are the one that feels uncomfortable. And I can understand that, you know, it is awkward and things like that. You know, the longer you're around, the less it matters, in my opinion. Like you just, you know, we're all, you know, we all have our stuff and we all did stuff, but, you know, I hope you get past it. I hope both of you do, and you come to a place, but I wouldn't let it keep me from going to a meeting that I need to go to. I would make sure that, you know, I'm going. And
I wouldn't let it keep it from my education or where I want to go to school. You know, this is not, look, and let me just say this, and I don't know what happened between you and that person, but in general, if you see somebody in a 12-step meeting, they don't want anybody talking about you're seeing them there. And just as much as you don't want anyone talking about seeing you there. So you're actually in the same place. You could meet in that place of, okay, I know who you are and we're not going to talk about it, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't feel safe with this person around and this is not a safe person, find another place to work on your recovery.
We have no more questions right now, which I invite you to ask some questions, but you mentioned a professionals meeting, and one of the things that we've added since last week too is a professionals meeting. So if you are a doctor, attorney, judge, you know, mental health professional, yeah, something where you know, you definitely don't want to be in the safe space, you can, it requires a password and you need to identify what profession you're in and why. But we have mental health professionals, and also I know at least one physician that is planning to attend. And so it will be a space, a drop-in group on our site on sexandrelationshiphealing.com on Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And that will be weekly so that professionals can join that meeting. if they qualify for that.
And just to say it, since it offers itself as a moment to stop here, we are doing this because we believe that what we're doing right now, Tammy and I, and the company that we've created with some colleagues, we believe that everything that you need to get well should be free. And that if you want to find a drop-in group or a support group or a lecture, or you want to talk to an expert, you want to go through a whole set of tasks or exercises, or that all of that should be available to you, whether you ever make a 12-step meeting, whether you ever go to therapy, just so you can get well at home on your own if that's what you want and without paying a penny. But it only works if people show up for it. So we are working to create, and we pay for this. We have moderators in the drop-in groups. We have moderators. We have, we don't pay for all of it. Some people have volunteers, but we are creating a fully alive site where you can go to talk to people, to go to lectures, to gather information, not just find out about a book or find out about a therapist, actually interact with people. We're building a live online community, and that's what sex and relationship healing is. That's where you are right now.
Which includes a number of podcasts. You have continued to interview great guests to include in our podcast series. So those resources are available 24 hours a day.
Which is called?
Sex, Love, and Addiction.
Sex, Love, and Addiction.
Mm-hmm.
We got a question.
Okay. We've got several of them. There's a person, a male, who has been married for more than 3 decades, have kids, grandkids. I had an affair for 2 years with another married male. My wife, who is here also, found out about the affair in May of last year. I promised her I would stop seeing him, but I didn't. In June, I admitted that we were still meeting, but that I would stop. My wife recently found out that we never stopped meeting. We are currently reading Joe Court's book related to whether the husband is bi, gay, or straight, with 35 years of marriage history. We both want to give our marriage a chance, but I'm finally at a point where I don't want to be a liar anymore. And if I'm gay, considering leaving my marriage, although it would hurt my wife deeply. I've never been able to walk away from homosexuality throughout our 35 years of marriage. Thoughts?
Well, I've never been able to walk away from being a man. I've never been able to walk away from being white. I mean, you just can't walk away from the way you're born, in my opinion. And so you are who you are, and you can try all kinds of ways of living that out, but you're going to come back to yourself. And how you choose to live that life is up to you. And so here's something you might think about that you don't know about. Today, on Psychology Today, I have a part 1 of a 2-part blog that went up called, something like if you're married to someone gay, the mismarriage, something?
Anyway, looking.
It is on this very topic. And if you go to Psychology Today and put in my name, you'll get the blog. And it's
when gay men mismarry straight women.
Gay men who mismarry straight women. And it is a series of interviews that we did with an expert who deals with couples specifically who are just doing this, who are just working on, I think I'm coming out, I want to do, what are we going to do with our relationship, all of that. And so here's just what I want to say to you in particular. I don't think at this moment your sexual orientation matters nearly as much as your honesty. You have to stop lying to your wife. That is not okay. It is not okay to lie to the people you love. And whatever kind of relationship the two are going to have going forward, and I got to tell you, I was married in my 20s. My wife of 35 years ago is still a friend of mine. We still hang out and do stuff together because we cleaned up our stuff, we made it golden, and we enjoyed the friendship that we've always had, that we still have 30 years later. But you're not going to be friends with this woman if you keep lying to her. She is going to not only see you as struggling with homosexuality, but maybe you're just someone who can't tell the truth. So I agree with you that you have to make a decision about how you're going to live, and the decision should be to live honestly. If you're going to continue to see this man, you need to tell her. If you're going to stop seeing him and really look at your relationship, you need to tell her and him. But you don't get to be the master of your own universe while you struggle, and I mean this with all kindness and grace. I'm a gay man, I was married, I get it, but I'll tell you this, you don't get to sit around and oh gosh, how do I deal with my gayness or whatever your problem is while your wife is suffering with lies and secrets and the limitations of what she has with you. So that's just not fair to do to another human being so that you can feel like you can choose. So I suggest that you start thinking about being above all, honest in all of your dealings. Or you can say, I'm not willing to be honest about that right now. And that's okay too. But you have to start telling the truth. Otherwise, you will never find your way into feeling good about yourself, no matter what you do with your life. Promise.
Well, and there's another married male on the other side of this. So that means there's another wife and potentially
family and kids, family.
Yeah. So
this is not okay to do to other people. Let me just say this. I'm a sex addict. I had to create a plan for behavior change way back in the day when I first started. And I have to tell you, the first thing I put on my sex plan or my sobriety plan, it was the first thing was, from this day forward, I will not do anything sexually, romantically, whatever, that will hurt another person. That was the first thing I decided. The next was HIV. Like, I'll have safe sex. But the first one for me, in other words, I'm not going to sleep with somebody's husband or wife or sister, or that ends. I want to be a man of integrity. If you start there, everything else will become clear.
Thank you. My significant other doesn't like porn, quotes, but has turned to receiving pics from other females our entire relationship. Is it considered the same as porn?
Well, that's kind of a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
If someone's sending you a nude image, you're looking at porn. It doesn't matter whether the nude image came from a machine or it came from a studio or it came from a friend. Sexting is porn. You know, it may be friendly porn, but it's still porn. If I show you my boobs or someone else's boobs, I'm still showing you porn. So I think the issue that I would be concerned about if I were married to this person is not so much what he's looking at, but why is he chatting with other women to the, such a way that they want to send him nude pictures? In other words, if you're okay with your husband having sexual relationships with other women, then we don't have anything we have to talk about. But if you're not, then I think you got a lot of things to talk about with your husband, because why is he exchanging sexual images with other women? I don't care whether you call it porn or call it peanut butter and jelly. It's still not, unless you've talked about it and agreed to it, and it's okay with you that he has sexual conversations. Because, it's not like some woman's just going to send her picture. He's going to be chatting and sexting, and that doesn't come out of thin air. So actually, if it were me, I would rather my spouse looked at porn occasionally that was having sex with other people. And even though he's not technically, as far as having sex with other people, he's having sexualized conversations, sharing sexual images. Is that the marriage you want to be in? And it may be great, but if it's not, I think you have more problems than porn to worry about.
Well, and I was thinking, that he's spending emotional and sexual energy on these other females versus, in a relationship with you.
And again, I want to say this. And some of you will get turned off by this. I get this, but, I got the PhD. I've been doing this work for 30 years. I get to say what I think. And there are relationships that are open. There are people who have polyamorous relationships, even in sex addiction. There are people who are incapable. They're so broken that they cannot form a meaningful relationship. If they just had sex with the same 3 people in a year, that would be amazing for them. So I don't have any expectations that the ultimate goal for every single recovering person is going to be a monogamous, committed relationship. Some people are not capable of that. But what everyone is capable of is honesty, integrity, and being in an equal relationship where your partner knows exactly what's going on and why. That all of us can do. And if we can't do that, then I would be questioning the relationship.
I always think too, it's, if I am keeping secrets and hiding things, or if we didn't agree to this at the beginning of our relationship, or, if we were in a relationship and you said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And I said, okay, that's one thing. But if you're doing this and I'm not okay with this, or I find out about it, and because you've kept it secret, that to me is still the hiding and secretive behavior that would be problematic for my trust in a relationship.
And I would just never know that it was going to stop at the porn.
Yeah. So somebody's asking, and I can answer this. I'm sorry, but I didn't catch the date of the first male-only support group. That will be February 21st. That's a Thursday, and I believe it'll be at 6 p.m. Pacific time, but it will be on the sexandrelationshiphealing.com website. So February 21st, 6 p.m. Then the Women's Sex and Love Addiction Drop-In Group will
be
women only, and there will be a moderator. So if you are male, you'll get asked, you'll get
kicked out.
Asked to leave, and if you don't leave, you'll get taken out. But anyway, so if you are looking for that one, it will be Tuesday night, March 11th. She's checking her schedule. It might be the week before. No, I think it's the 12th. Whatever that Tuesday night is. Actually, I'll look. But that will be the March 12th. So Tuesday, March 12th will be the first women's sex and love addiction offering, drop-in group. So,
and I have to tell you guys, I feel like I'm in a kid in a candy store, because last week Tammy said, well, we got a professionals meeting starting once. I'm like, I'm there because I want to go too. I want to hang out. I want to participate. I want to see what's going on. I'm so thrilled there's a group that I want to go to. So yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah, that's 3 new meetings that I am very excited. So, and I'm working on some more. So I'm the partner of a sex addict. I'm struggling to let go of feelings that I could have prevented my husband's acting out. If the life we had was so great, as I believe, why would he be trying to escape to prostitutes?
Okay, so here's the thing. Your life as you knew it was not so great because your husband was lying to you and had a secret life. So you believed that it was great, and he told you that it was great, but there was something not right because he was lying and keeping secrets from you. And by the way, we're very good at lying and keeping secrets as sex addicts, so I'm not surprised you didn't know. But if you re-enter and rework this relationship with him, it probably could be a lot richer, because it sounds like he did an awful lot of things and kept you out. The other piece I just want to say to you is, and every partner needs to hear this, and I'm glad to say this every time we do this, there is absolutely nothing that you as a wife or husband can do, or girlfriend or boyfriend, to make somebody else go act out, whether that's drinking or gambling or sexing. I don't care if you gain 300 pounds. I don't care if your skin turns to paste. I don't care if you lie in bed all day and eat bonbons. Someone who's married to you or in a committed relationship with you can make a lot of choices around their unhappiness or their other desires than to cheat on you. You know, they can volunteer somewhere, they can divorce you, they can get into marital therapy with you, they can buy a car, I don't know what, they can volunteer. I mean, there are things people can do if they're not happy with their life and they're not happy with their sex life. But the idea that the right thing to do is to just go cheat is not okay. And so there are 2 issues going on here. You know, one is the man you loved is not the man that you thought that you were with, and you're going to have to reinvest if you want to find out who he really is. And then that perfect marriage that you thought you had, now you know that it wasn't. So you're going to have to look back and say, looking at who he is and what we've had, what might we have going forward, if anything? And you're going to have to decide that with him. But his cheating and his sexual behavior is not about you. That was a decision he made out of something that was missing inside of him that he thought he could fill up by doing that. And then when it didn't, he went back for more. There is a stable, whole person would have not done that in this way to you. So he has issues that have nothing to do with you. And here's another thing for all the spouses to hear. All of us sex addicts, we had these issues before we met you. We had problems with intimacy, relationships, and sex before we met you. We had them when we were 12 or 15 or 17. So I understand this belief that, oh my God, if I'd done this, if I'd done, I mean, who in grief, right? Who grieving a loss doesn't say, oh, I wish I'd said this, or I wish we'd done that, or or if only we'd had that talk. We all do that when we're grieving. You're grieving the loss of your marriage in the way that you knew it. And one of the things that is natural to do, but I encourage you not to do, is to say, what did I do to make this happen? Because there's nothing you did to make this happen. And if there was, he could have told you and you could have shifted it and you could have worked on it before he went out and did that. So what he did was his choice. And the lack and the emptiness in the relationship is one that he created with the lies and the secrecy instead of moving towards you. And if he wanted more from you and with you, a healthier person would have told you and you could have decided how you work that out. So you're at the beginning stages of this, and I understand that, and it's a long journey. You'll be hurting for a while, and I'm sorry for that. But I do want to tell you that please don't add to your hurt the idea that anything you have done or anything you can do in the future will make him go have sex with another person, because that is fully 100%, if he does that, his decision. And
I really encourage you to join the partner drop-in group Wednesday at 12:30 Pacific time this week, where you'll get to talk to other partners that they'll reinforce it isn't you. And the Prodependence webinar that starts this week Friday at 2 p.m. It would be another great opportunity.
I want to say something about that because Tammy brought it up, and it's really important what she's saying, and I want to make it broader. When we seek to help people with mental health or addiction issues, in every hospital, in every treatment center, in every place across the land, the first thing we do with someone who's hurting is we bring them into a group of people who have similar issues. As much as embarrassed as you feel, as uncomfortable as you feel, as humiliated as you feel, the last thing you want to do is talk to someone else who's been cheated on or whatever. I cannot tell you within 3 minutes how incredibly empowered you're going to feel when you look at that other attractive, smart person and you think, well, he or she's attractive and smart and kind, and they got cheated on. So if it wasn't about them, maybe it wasn't about me. And you can't have that experience without being with other people. Trust me on this. Put your shame and fear aside and drop in a group to chat with people. It's free. We're not listening in. We're not taping. We're not writing. It's just for you, really, 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 to talk to other people and get a sense. And then if you grow in a way that gets you from there to a therapy group or there to a 12-step meeting, even better. But the idea of healing in isolation is never a good one. And no matter how embarrassed, no matter how humiliating, no matter how ashamed you are better off sharing that shame and that humiliation and that sadness with others who share it with you than being alone with it. And that's why you're here. And I hope you take the next step and join with other people to talk with them about it.
I was thinking that the most problematic thing is when something gets caught in between my ears, and I can't fix it myself. If I vocalize it to somebody else and just start talking about it, things clear up. But if I'm trapped in my head, that's a dangerous place for me to be. So. Next question. Can you talk about love addiction? My therapist told me that I scored high on the SDI for relationship addiction, which I understand to be love addiction. How have you seen this manifest in a 40-year marriage?
Those are two different questions. So what is a love addiction issue versus what is a 4-year marriage? So I want to address those separately if I can. And meanwhile, if you want to write maybe in the chat what you mean by the 40-year marriage part, I'm not sure I understand. But let me just explain the difference between sex and love addiction. That I can do. As a sex addict, if I am active in my addiction, I am using the images of people and the experiences of being people to make myself feel different, feel better, or escape my feelings altogether. In other words, if I'm an active sex addict, I really don't care about the person I'm having sex with. I care about their butt, their boobs, their whatever it is in the moment. But what I'm really looking for is to get an intense rush of feeling wanted and desired and special and important, all wrapped up in the sex. Ultimately, that person that I'm having sex with is an object to me. They're not a person. I don't really deeply know them or want to, and even if I do, I'm more focused on the sex than the relationship. So sex addicts objectify sex, and they use that objectified relationship with their sex life to bolster emotional vulnerabilities, ego, narcissism, all of that. Love addiction is like what I would call graduate school for sex addicts. And I remember being in graduate school, I remember the love addiction part of my healing, and it looked like this. I would look at someone, start to notice someone, listen to what they were saying, and all of a sudden, like they were the best person in the world. They were the one I needed to be with. They were the one, and it wasn't about sex. It was like I wanted to spend time with them, I wanted to eat with them, I wanted to chat with them, and ultimately there were all these loving feelings. But the thing was, I didn't even know them. What I was doing was objectifying them in terms of what they might provide me with for love. So sex addicts objectify body parts, and how will that make me feel if I get to have those body parts? Love addicts objectify someone as an object for love and think, wouldn't it be great if I could get that person to love me, desire me, want me, because they're so amazing. But the truth is that we don't really deeply know the people that we're love addicted to any more than we do the people we have sex with. They're just objects to us. People who are not love addicts fall in love with who the person is, not what they do for me, not how they make me feel, but what I like about them, what appeals to me. And that's the difference between love addiction or an object-driven relationship and a real relationship. I know what makes my husband happy. I know what makes him cry. I know what makes him laugh. I know what he likes to eat. I know, and I love all of those things about him, or I don't. But some parts I love, but I am in relationship with a real person not my idea of what they might be or who they might be for me or who they might be if they stop drinking and using, but I am in love with the person I'm with for who they are, not what they bring to me or how they make me feel. So if sex addicts are using the experience of being desired and having sex as a way to stabilize their emotional selves, love addicts are using the experience of being desired, wanted, romantic, moonlight candles, all of that stuff, intensity. But ultimately, it is also simply there to bolster up their feelings and help them feel better about themselves. Oh, look, somebody loves me. And how great is that? But it isn't real. It's based on a fantasy.
Okay. So what about a person's behavior attracts the same kinds of personalities over and over again? Why does a female love addict attract losers over and over again? Is it just a love addict tolerates really shitty behavior just in order to get attention?
Well, I mean, a love addict doesn't know any better. I mean, you assume that's what you're going to get and you take what you get and, you just do it, live with it. So, but let me speak to that directly. There is a way for us to date in a healthy way and get to know people. Yes, you're always going to be attracted to people who have certain kinds of characteristics. But here's a way to think about it, and I think this is really important. You might be attracted to me because I'm narcissistic and a bit of a show-off and I like to sound important and, whatever reasons you think I'm whatever, attractive or interesting. Had you met me 25 years ago, I would still have been a little younger, a little better looking, but I still would have been interesting, smart, all those things. It's just that I wouldn't have been available for a relationship with you because I wasn't available for a relationship 25 years ago. You would not have known that until you got into a relationship with me. So how do you figure out whether you're dating the Rob who's sober and in recovery or the Rob who is still acting out but charming and interesting and fun? And here's the thing, you ask. And so what I say to the women who are single and who are struggling is this. It's exactly what Tammy said a minute ago. If you put the man of your dreams in between your ears and you start to fantasize about him, you're going to make a bad decision. Because if you just stick that man in your head and your head doesn't make the best decisions about men, you're going to make a bad decision. But if you have other people in your life, like the ones in these groups we're talking about, people who know your stuff, people who know the kind of men you've dated, the situations you've found yourself in 6 different times, they will guide you so that you can meet the person who is an addict and struggles and is narcissistic, but they're in therapy, they're sober. In other words, you might always be vulnerable to a certain kind of personality, a certain kind of issues. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that, but just make sure that the person you go out with already has a way of talking about themselves, already has a path of healing, and know that. So in other words, you're going to date someone with issues. Assume that everyone you date has issues. Then make sure that they're sober, they're in therapy, and they're aware of those issues. And then you can have a really happy relationship with someone who is growing just like you are. But if you date someone who has all these character traits and you have no idea whether they're sober, whether they're single, whether they're, then you're going to end up with the same person over and over again. So it isn't a matter of finding ourselves attracted to someone else. That probably won't happen. But it is a matter of having other people help discern, and that's the word, discernment, help you discern who's the person I'm attracted to that might be healthy for me and who's the person that I'm attracted to that might be unhealthy for me. And you on your own will never make that decision in the right way. You have to have other people to help you. Look, when the alcoholic walks in a bar, their first instinct is to stand up at the bar and order a drink. But if they turn to a recovering friend and say, what do you think I should do? That recovering friend is going to say, it's time to leave the bar before you order the drink. In other words, they don't know what to do when they walk in that bar. They just want the alcohol. But if they've got someone by their side who knows their shit, that person will help guide them. That's what you need, is people who understand the kinds of mistakes you made in the past and in detail and can help guide you toward not making them in the future when you go forward dating. But don't give up on love.
We're going to continue this theme. So we've got a mid-30s female combat vet, divorced, been on the site before, trauma was noted about me. I'm doing really well, working on myself, career is going well, but really want to have a child. I realize when guys come after me, I feel nothing. And I've been chasing unavailable men or setting myself up with guys in short circuit situations in hindsight. She's read the book, Confronting Addiction, and now reading The Intimacy Factor. I need to fix the broken negative common denominator, which is moi. Please point me to the right direction, something that will make me more positive. I feel so blasé, checked out. Seeking out relationships seems like such a chore. She's said to be attractive, well-educated, but has the gift of pushing guys away. And then she noted that guys are scared of her because she's quite independent. I come across like that. But inside, I do wish for company. I feel like socially, women are expected to be super well in job, education, etc. But it's a double-edged sword when it comes to having biological needs met. So I don't want him to pay bills. I won't make that mistake again. So she doesn't want a guy to protect her. So help.
So there's two different things here. Number one, you're absolutely right. I have talked to too many professional women in Los Angeles, in New York, in other cities, to not absolutely agree with you that there are many men out there who want you to be a bimbo. You know, they want you to look like a professional executive, but they don't want you to have the smarts or have the job or be competitive with them because they can't take it. And, you know, in case you didn't know this, men are fairly ego-driven. And so we like people to defer. We like women or our partners to defer to us. We like them to let us go first. We like them to help us feel like we're important, because men struggle with ego. And it's not unusual for a woman to be willing to defer to a man, even though she knows in her head, she's right, she got it. You know, she'll just let him go because she knows he needs to do that. But underneath, she kind of knows, you know, so the challenge is, I think, just to speak to that part of it, is how do you allow yourself to be a sophisticated, educated, clever, intellectual woman and still let a man feel sometimes like he's in charge, sometimes like he has that vulnerable, cuddly woman who just adores him, because sometimes we want that. And sometimes you might even like doing that, although if I'm guessing you don't like doing that. But everybody likes to be deeply nurtured, cared for. You know, how do I say this? My husband was sick this weekend. I didn't treat him like a husband. I treated him like a 7-year-old. I brought him soup. I said, how you doing, sweetie? You're not doing well. Let me take your temperature. Everybody wants that. Okay, even the smartest, best healed woman on the planet wants to be nurtured and loved, because it's a human condition. So while, yes, you do want someone who's intellectually challenging and stimulating and all that stuff, at the same time, you also want to be with someone with whom you can allow yourself to take down some of that armor and be vulnerable. And let me just say this to you about, you know, I'm a smart, driven, intellectual professional. And I promise you that I spent years looking for another smart, driven, intellectual professional to marry. And what I found is that they drove me crazy, because after years of therapy, I realized I wanted to be in charge. I didn't want them to be in charge. I didn't want necessarily someone who was, you know, fighting as hard in the world, working because we would kill each other. I need someone to listen to how my day went. I know I have, when I was dating, had the choice of someone who I could compete with, you know, the big business person, I'm the big business, you know, we're going to go and tell each other about, but who's going to listen? Who's going to be empathic? So maybe you're the power woman who needs a nurturing man, and not necessarily another power man. Maybe the best guy for you would be a carpenter or a painter, and not necessarily the lawyer. So again, I think it's about discernment, lowering expectations, but you do speak to something I think that everybody, that you particularly need to think about. I think you're aware that there's a kind of hard shell on the outside, and I can really relate to that. It's a level of protection. And listen, in us urban professionals, it can look really good. You know, our hard shell can look like our degrees, our cars, the place we live, the clothes we wear, but really it's our fear of getting close. And it's all dressed up, and I'm this big city professional, but underneath it's a real fear of getting close. And these are therapy issues, you know, and I would really recommend a women's group to sit down and talk to other women about dating and relationships and getting real, because some of these issues are feminist issues, some of these issues are cultural issues, some of these issues I think have to do with fear of intimacy, which is more, they're kind of all mushed together. And I think your ability to pull these apart and see what's yours and what's not, and what you really, really need in a relationship, as opposed to the fantasy you have about a relationship, will help you. You can get there and you will have what you want, but again, you're going to need support and guidance.
And I really do hope you'll join the women's drop-in group when we start that in March, because I have a feeling you'll find it to be a really helpful fit.
Oh, and let me say one thing about that.
Go ahead.
I really want to say this, ladies, when you have somebody in your life, who knows your stuff, who you go to about dating, and you're dating the wrong person, here's the only rule: you have to be willing to listen to them. So when they say to you, well, I'm glad you thought he was a great guy, but remember, he's still using heroin and still married to 2 other women. And you say, oh, but his heroin he was so nice to me. That's when that woman is in your life to say, I know he's nice and I know you liked him and you're emotionally feeling carried away, but you don't get to date him anymore because he's not the right person for you. We need people to tell us that, and we need to be willing to listen.
She adds, I do love being nurtured. I have been like that. It's not enough. It's as if men don't want to keep a woman who doesn't need them. So,
well, and so that's a great question, right?
Yeah.
What woman doesn't need a partner? I mean, what man doesn't need it? What human doesn't need it? Go for it, Tammy.
Well, I was thinking, I'm a pretty independent woman, and
you are,
and as we've talked about at the beginning of the meeting, but yeah, I mean, my husband is my touchstone, and he knows it, and I make sure he knows that I value him. But he doesn't need to be a knight in shining armor and save me. And, that would bore him, quite frankly. If I was a needy woman, that would not work. So I found somebody who nurtures me in the way that I need to be nurtured, and I nurture him back. But it was very intentional about, understanding what was going to work for the 2 of us. And we are partners. We talk about that often, that we are partners, and it's not a power up, power down, that we are mutually supportive of each other.
I did a podcast with someone who I have so much respect for recently. His name is Dr. Stan Tapkins, Tatkin. And I think he did one of the best podcasts on sex, love, and addiction that we've done. And he's talking about the nature of what a relationship really is, what it's about, why you're in it. What is the purpose of having a relationship? Not the emotional piece, but the overall picture of what it's really about in our lives. I would highly recommend listening to it. It will help a lot.
It's a great one.
He also wrote a book recently that's for people who are looking to get married, but I think it applies to anyone who wants to have a meaningful relationship, called We Do. And it explains sort of where your focus needs to be in a relationship, even when emotionally you're feeling everything else, how to stay focused on what's important.
So how does a single love addict act out as opposed to a married love addict?
Well, I can't tell what it would be for you, but if I'm a love addict and I've admitted to that and I'm working on it, I have a sobriety plan that is just as clear as if I was an alcoholic and I wasn't drinking. And it means I have to do this before I have a date. I can only date this, I have to talk to these people. I have to call someone before the date, after the date. I have to run who this person is by someone if I'm going to go on a second date. There's a whole way of living inside of accountability. So that's the answer. As a love addict, you need to have accountability about who you're dating, even starting to date. If you're going to continue dating them, how often you talk to them, how often you text them, how often. We don't do this well, or you wouldn't be sitting here. So we need the help of other people to say, you just went out last night. I don't think you need to text him this morning. Why don't you wait and see, because left to our own devices, we will either smother them or run away. And so that's why we need those other people. Did I answer the question, Tammy? I'm not sure if I did.
I think you did. So
okay.
Next question. I'm a 38-year-old male who had to relocate for work. I am a sex addict, and I felt the move would give me an opportunity to own my shame and guilt. Unfortunately, there are no SAA 12-step groups for me in my area. The closest group is 90 minutes away. Attended an AA group because I really needed to make a group of any type. The meeting was a mess and was disappointed. I was hoping to lean in on the meeting, and it didn't happen. I've been struggling to find a therapist in my area that I can get right into with difficulty of topics I was discussing with my previous therapist. He is not familiar with my area, so I feel like I'm in the dark. Can you provide me a metaphorical flashlight here? Any help would be appreciated.
Well, I'd rather give you a concrete flashlight, actually something useful. So first of all, almost all of the 12-step sexual recovery meetings, and that's more than that. There's Sex Addicts Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Sexual Compulsives Anonymous. All of them have telephonic meetings where you can call if you're not near a meeting, and most of them have online meetings in one space or another. So if you go through the major 12-step programs for sexual recovery and love recovery, you will find that they have telephonic meetings and online meetings. And then there's intherooms.com, where I do a Friday night group like this one, and they have an SAA meeting every single week. And then, we have drop-in groups. And I think if you write us, we might be able to help you find someone as a therapist. So
yeah, I had a couple of people that I thought of right off the bat. So I'm going to, in the chat, I will put my
your email.
Yeah.
Although if they just go on Sex and Relationship Healing and click on Contact Us, they will probably get you.
That's true too. But there you go with that. So
the other thing I want to say one more. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say the drop-in groups. Like, we have drop-in groups on the site. So there's a men's group at Sunday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time. There is a men's drop-in group at 10:45 a.m. Pacific time on Monday mornings. So there are drop-in groups on this site.
What we're going to do, Tammy?
Yeah.
Starting next week, we're going to put next to your head, in some fashion, I'm sure we're going to do it, on the screen, a list of all of the meetings. And that way everybody can just refer to them and see them. Or I'll put them up like a piece of paper or something so that people can just see.
Well, actually, we could do a screen share because it's on the website. If you go to the website, it has the list. So
we got to find a way to put that up so that people just say, oh, yeah, that's the one. So we don't have to keep repeating, because it's boring for people to hear 5 o'clock on, whatever.
Yeah. Yes. Go to the website.
But there's something else I wanted to say to this person. That was a really important question about. So tell me what the question was again. Just one more little.
It was about, I can't find a therapist. I'm all alone in this area, and there's no meeting.
So, I know. You said you went to AA. So that tells me that you know 12-step a little bit. You've probably been to meetings before. Once you get connected with some online meetings, start a meeting in your community. Go to some AA and other meetings, and when it's time to talk about things other than program, you can say, hey, I'm starting an S meeting, put some flyers up, get some meeting notices out to some therapists, make it happen. I mean, if you can't find it, make it. I guarantee you, wherever you are living, there are other sex and love addicts who are dying for a place to go, and if they have an AA meeting, there are probably enough people around to get into an S meeting.
I know multiple people that have done that, and they said, I'm taking my big book, I'm going to sit there, and I will sit there for the hour, and they made a commitment to do that, and within a short amount of time, other people started showing up.
And we'll help you. Like, if you say, hey, I started this meeting in Des Moines at 3, we'll drop it in our notes and say, hey, Des Moines people, go to this meeting. So you can create what you need.
Yes. My husband and I have been separated now for over a year. His lying, drinking, and gaslighting was more than I could live with. He isn't drinking as much. He's got more active in his recovery. Our communication has gotten better. I see tiny improvements, but his entitlement, self-centered thinking is so prominent, and that drives me crazy. How long, if at all, will the recovering addict start to have empathy and grasp the depth of betrayal and pain he caused me? He says he can't see living with me with my triggers and anxiety. I feel like I was the victim, of hit and run driver, and it makes me more angry. I don't think he could be present in marriage counseling if we went at this point. We're going for retirement savings for recovery and therapy. Will my husband, 45 years of acting out, ever get out of his selfish thinking, and how long will it take? D-Day was 2.5 years ago. I cannot get past the anger and feel more resentment. I'm tired and exhausted.
I'm sorry, Tammy, did this person say that her husband is still drinking?
His lying, drinking, gaslighting, he isn't drinking as much. So yes, he's more active in his recovery. And I'm going to say, no, he's not. If he's still drinking and he's still acting out, he's not in recovery.
Look, I drink because I'm not an alcoholic. And that means that occasionally I have a glass of wine on a Friday night, or maybe I have a beer watching a game. That's drinking for a non-alcoholic. If your husband is regularly drinking and he's drinking hard liquor or drinking daily, then the fact that he's cut back is not going to resolve the problem. And especially if he's trying to deal with a behavioral addiction. In order to become sensitive to the nuances of your feelings, he's going to have to be sober. And I think it'll be very hard for him to get to the emotional clarity that you're looking for, especially this many years on. He's not a youngster. While he's going to need to make a big change in his life. It might mean going to a treatment program. It might mean, starting an AA. If he gets into AA, that will be a great place for him to launch his recovery. But what I hear in what you said is someone who's doing just enough to try to keep you happy and just enough to keep himself from feeling too ashamed, but not really. Look, in case anybody doesn't get it, this work is for the rest of your life. This is life-changing. If you are a sex or love addict, you have profound, or even an alcoholic, you have profound issues to work through that healthy people don't. And you are at a disadvantage, and you will be doing this for a long time. Therapy, meetings, and by the way, that's not a sentence. That's a good thing. You will have to be around people who will encourage you, support you, help you interpret your reality for a long time, because this is a long process, especially if you're anything over 25 and you've been doing this for a while. So I hear your pain. If this man, you don't hear him feel him diving into the healing process, even though he sees how much pain he's cost you. And when I think the choices get very narrow at this point, it really becomes about, do I have the resources to not live with this person? Could we live apart? Could we separate our lives? Or how can I separate the parts of my life that are where he's causing me pain? Do we sleep in separate beds? Do we live as two people? And you cannot get closer. I wouldn't encourage you to put your hand on a hot stove, nor would I encourage you to get closer to or work on emotional issues with someone who's not fully available to do it. And anybody who's saying to you that you are the trigger for their problems is nowhere near ready to work on it. By the way, I wrote a book about this, about how men handle cheating and how they don't do it well. And it's called Out of the Doghouse, a relationship-saving guide for men caught cheating. And I wrote this as a message from a man to men saying, dude, you cheated on your spouse. This is what she's going through. You want to make it better? This is what you have to do. And the men that read that book will often say to me, I freaking hate you, Rob, because I know this is what I've been needing to do with her for a while, and I just haven't wanted to push myself. But now that you wrote it down and she read it, now she expects me to start showing up with less entitlement, less narcissism. But if he doesn't have both feet in the process, he's spinning wheels, and you need to vastly lower your expectations of what you're going to get from the relationship. I think we have time for one more. Yes,
and it's kind of a continuation. I've caught my partner in so many lies over the years, and I don't believe anything he says. I've played detective to uncover some more of his outrageous lies, which is humiliating, but I get so angry knowing he is lying. Currently, he is holding on to a lie that I think is a total deal breaker. He has never walked back a lie that I know of. If he feels like the last straw to me. He wants acceptance and for me to move forward. I'm so angry. I've hit the wall. He has started SA meetings, but lying trumps everything. And this is a long-term marriage. This particular one's a long-term marriage.
Well, I can only tell you this, and this comes right out of AA. They tell us in AA, and by the way, although I'm not alcoholic, I am absolutely bound to those principles and that way of living because it's SA, it's SAA, it's any A program. But they will tell you in AA that, well, there's a lot of things. Now I went right on my head. What did I want to say to you in particular? What they say in AA is that, I will paraphrase it, that some of us who come to recovery may have mental illness. Some of us who come to recovery may have emotional damage. Some of us who come to recovery may be disabled.
Constitutionally incapable of being honest with ourselves.
Some of us may have the inability to have lived in the inability to be honest with ourselves. But the only real key to change is honesty. And that's the one, look, I'm a pretty good therapist, and I've been doing it for a while, and I'm a really good therapist in this particular area of the work. But I'll tell you what, there's two things that I cannot do for anyone. No matter how much you love them, no matter how much you care about them, or no matter how much they say they want to get well, there are two things I cannot create: motivation and honesty. If someone does not internally, inside of themselves, not you nagging, but them saying, I don't want to live this way anymore, whether that means hurting you or hurting themselves or both, unless they can get to that point where they don't want to live this way anymore, and therefore they are willing to be honest, you don't have a relationship. What I've learned in the course of this work is that where our relationships rise and fall, not on whether we sleep with other people, not on whether we buy something too expensive that our spouse wouldn't approve of, not on whether we do the dishes, but our relationships rise and fall on our willingness to show integrity and honesty with our partners and to respect the fact that they need to know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we don't get to leave them out because we want to get away with something. That's not a real relationship. So without motivation for change, which you cannot create for him, he has to come to for himself, without his willingness to be honest, you're never going to have more than you have. And again, I hate to say this, but if you're living with someone who's talking the talk, oh yeah, I really want to get well, I'm really working, this is really a problem, but they're not walking the walk, going to therapy, going to meetings, showing up for the family, trying to work on themselves in an obvious way, watch their actions, not their words. And it doesn't mean that they don't love you. I mean, they may really, really love you, and their addiction may be more important to them, or their lies may be more important to them. Some people are built that way, and you have to decide what kind of relationship you're willing to live with. But I don't think you have to suffer more. It's really as simple as going to him and saying, look, I need this, I want this, and I want this. Are you willing to do it or not? And he will probably say, not today, and stop bugging me. And I think that you have to take that for an answer. Anyway, I wish there had been a more cheerful night, because, I hear a lot of pain in the room, and this is painful stuff. None of you would be here on a Monday night if you didn't have something more, if it wasn't meaningful to you to be here. These are deep, enduring problems. They don't get fixed quickly. But you will know, you just know when that person you love is willing, is engaged, is trying. And then you know when that person is just giving lip service. And as much as we love people and we want to hear the words and hope that they're going to be, this time it'll be different, that unfortunately can be our sickness, is assuming because they said it and because we want it and because they say they want it, that this time will be different. Words don't mean anything when we're dealing with the issues we're dealing with. Actions mean everything. Folks, you can find me Friday nights on In the Rooms. I do this same exercise at 6 o'clock California time, 1 hour later. And please check in on Sex and Relationship Healing if you want to drop me a note. I'm Rob at sexandrelationshiphealing.com. Tammy is contact me or Tammy at. We're here for you. We're here to do this, and we're giving it all away. So please take advantage of it. And tell your friends. Tammy, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Rob. Thank you all for attending and asking your questions. We'll see you next week.
We will. Bye for now.